Good day everyone, my name is Hannah Marie Endizon and this is our topic, the content of balance of payment. Balance of payment is a statement which records all the monetary transactions made between residents of a country and the rest of the world during any given period. This statement includes all the transactions made by two individuals, corporates, and the government and help in monitoring the flow of funds to develop the economy. When all the elements are correctly included in the BOP, it should sum up to zero in perfect scenario. This means the inflows and outflows of funds should balance out. Why balance of payment is vital for a country? A country BOP is vital for the following reason. First, BOP of a country reveal its financial and economic status. Second, BOP statement can be used as an indicator to determine whether the country's currency value is appreciating or depreciating. Then third one is BOP statement help the government decide on fiscal and trade policies. It provides important information to analyze and understand the economic dealings of a country with other countries. Types of balance of payment. The balance of payment is the difference between export of goods plus service plus capital transfer less imports of goods plus service plus capital transfer. It shows that balance of payment is a wider term and the balance of trade is its part. Balance of payments is further classified into favorable and unfavorable. Favorable balance of payments. Number 1, excess of goods and services exported plus capital transferred to abroad over the goods and services imported and capital transfer from abroad is known as favorable balance of payment. Second, the unfavorable balance of payment. Excess of goods and services imported plus capital transfer from abroad over the goods and services exported plus capital transfer to abroad or the rest of the world is known as unfavorable balance of payment. Next, the element of balance of payment. There are three components of balance of payment. This current account, capital account, and financial account. The total of the current account must balance with the total of capital and financial accounts in this situation. Current account. The current account is used to monitor the inflow and outflow of goods and services between countries. This account covers all the receipts and payments made with respect to raw materials and manufactured goods. It also includes receipts from engineering, tourism, transportation, business services, stocks, and royalties from patents and copyrights. When all the goods and services are combined, together, they make up the country of the balance of trade or the BOT. Next, the capital account. All capital transactions between the countries are monitored through the capital account. Capital transactions include the purchase and sale of assets or the non-financial, like land and properties. The capital account also includes the flow of taxes, purchase and sale of fixed assets in each by migrants moving out into a different country. The deficit or surplus in the country account is managed through the finance from capital account and the vice versa. The three major elements of the capital account. First, the loans and the borrowings. It includes all the type of loans from both the private and public sectors located in foreign countries. The investment. These are funds invested in the corporate stocks by non-residents. Then the third one is the foreign exchange reserves. Foreign exchange reserve held by the central bank of a country to monitor and control the exchange rate thus impact the capital account. Next, the financial account. The flow of funds from a foreign countries through various investment in real estates, business ventures, foreign direct investment, each is monitored through the financial account. This account measures the changes in the foreign ownership of domestic assets and domestic ownership of foreign assets. On analyzing these changes, it can be understood if the country is selling, acquiring more assets like gold, stock, equity, and each.
We all now know about the components of the balance of payment. Now let's talk about the components of current accounts. The first one is trade in goods. It measures the revenue received from the export of tangible goods minus the expenditure on the imports of tangible goods over a given time period. Exports leads to inflow of money while imports lead to an outflow of money. Items of foreign exchange earning and spending or payments includes value of merchandise exports and the value of merchandise imports. All these are visible items. The next one is trade in services. It measures the revenue received from the export of services minus the expenditure on the imports of services over a given time period. Trade in services records all the services exported and imported by country in year. Services are intangible or invisible items in balance of payment. So why is it invisible? Because unlike goods, they are not recorded in the port of entry. The example of this service include banking, insurance, tourism, and transport. The next one is current transfers. Current transfers, it is a measurement of net transfer of money, often known as unilateral transfer from abroad. This account includes all gifts, grants, and reparation receipts and payments to foreign countries. Current transfer refer to when receiving money, goods or services without having to provide anything in return. The example of current transfers include work remittance, donations, and grants. The next one is one of the major components of balance of payment is capital account. Components of capital account includes gold movement. Central bank of every country buys and sells gold from home to and to abroad. It means that exports and imports of the gold by the central bank which makes the payment and receipts of amount of gold. The amount of gold bought in reflected under debit sides and sales of gold are reflected under credit side. The price of gold is moved by a combination of supply, demand, and investors think of gold as an inflation hedge. Since gold often moves higher when economic conditions worsen, it is viewed as an efficient tool for diversifying a portfolio. The next one is reserve, monetary gold, and SDR. Government's foreign currency assets, gold reserves of central bank, SDR of the IMF, and other similar capital transaction, etc. are included under credit items, and the payments on this transaction are reflected under debit items. The SDR is an international reserve asset created by the IMF to supplement its member countries' official reserves. SDR allocation can play a role in providing liquidity and supplementing members' countries' official reserves. The next one is movement in banking capital. Inflow of banking capital besides central bank is reflected under credit items, and outflow of banking capital besides central bank is reflected under debit items. The, the aggregate of money capital with which capitalist banks operate, these resources make up the entire sum of the liabilities of their balance. Banking capital brings its holder banking profit, the profit norm of which is equal to average profit in the economy as a whole, just as is the case with industrial and commercial profit. The next one is private foreign loan flow. Private sectors of the country receive foreign loans from abroad. These receipts of capital or foreign loans are included under credit items. The private sectors of country also pays the foreign loans to abroad country. These repayments of foreign loan is included under debit items. Private sector foreign currency loans or borrowings that are guaranteed by the public sector are subject to the following to allow borrowers to pay the obligation using foreign currency purchased from banks. The next one is official capital transaction. Public sectors of the country receive foreign loans from International Monetary Fund. These receipts of loan are included under credit items, and the public sector also pays the loans to International Monetary Fund, which is included under debit items. A capital transaction is one that deals with non-current asset or liabilities. The transaction relating to share capital and reserves, long-term debt capital, or fixed assets of a company as opposed to revenue transactions. For example, the purchase of a building is a capital transaction, while the maintenance of a building is a revenue transaction. The, the next one is miscellaneous. Besides the above items, central bank receives the other kinds of governmental capital. These types of receipts are also included under credit side, and the central bank makes the payments for these governmental capitals which are included under debit side. The next one is one of the major components of balance of payment, which is financial account. The components of financial account includes direct investment. This is also referred as foreign direct investment when a resident in one country acquires control or a significant degree of influence on the management of the firm in another economy, normally more than 10%. Direct investment refers to long-term capital investments such as the purchase or construction of machinery, buildings, or even whole manufacturing plants. It is a measure of the purchase of long-term assets, in which the investor exerts some explicit degree of control over the assets. The next one is portfolio investment. It refers to a measure of stock and bond purchases. These do not lead to a lasting interest in a company. Portfolio investment also refers to the purchase of shares and bonds, in which the investors has no control over the assets. The purchase of debt securities across borders is classified as portfolio investment because debt securities by definition do not provide the buyer with ownership or control. Portfolio investment is motivated by a search for returns rather than to control or manage the investment. The next one is reserve asset or official reserves. This includes the assets that the central banks holds to finance balance of payments needs and to intervene in the foreign exchange market. Reserve assets is operated by a nation's central bank to buy and sell foreign currencies. Official reserves is total reserves held by official monetary authorities within the country. The reserves are normally composed of the major currencies used in international trade and financial transactions. The significance of official reserves depends generally on whether the country is operated under a fixed exchange rate regime or a floating exchange rate system.
Everyone, I am Georgeline Bukirin from BSBA FM2 and I'm the third reporter of this group. Payment and settlement. Payment systems are essential to the effective functioning of financial system worldwide. They provide the channels through which funds are transferred among banks and other institutions to discharge payment obligations arising from economic and financial transactions across the entire economy. An efficient, secure, and reliable payment system reduces the cost of exchanging goods and services, and it is an essential tool for the effective implementation of monetary policy and the smooth functioning of money in the capital markets. It is this key role played by Payment and Settlement System (PSS) in the smooth functioning of an economy in general and its financial and monetary system in particular that gives the central bank or CB a strong incentive for ensuring that an effective, reliable, and secure payment and settlement system is in place. In the Philippines, the BSP o Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas takes the lead in promoting an efficient payment and settlements system by providing a necessary infrastructure through the operation of the Philippines Payment and Settlement System or PhilPAS. Payment and settlement system is the entirety or integrity of payment instruments of common rules, procedures, and supportive technical and program facilities for implementation of clearing, transfer of funds, and execution of final settlement, which is used to provide a payment to a beneficiary. A policy and regulatory framework, also known as the National Retail Payment System or NRPS, to establish safe, efficient, and reliable retail payment system in the country. The National Retail Payment System or NRPS is a policy and regulatory framework that aims to provide direction in carrying out retail payment activities through BSP or Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas supervised financial institution by defining high-level policies, principles, and standards, which, when adopted, would lead to the establishment of a safe, efficient, and reliable retail payment system. The BSP performed the following role in payment and settlement system. First, operator of the real-time gross settlement system known as PhilPAS. The BSP o Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas through its Payment and Settlement Office (PSO) serve as the payment system operator responsible for the operation and maintenance of PhilPAS and its critical components. It's ensured that the operation of PhilPAS is continuous, safe, and efficient so that time-critical payments are completed as expected to facilitate and enhance economic process, manage risk, and absorb shocks in order to promote financial stability. The second is provider of credit facilities of bank as a lender of last resorts. As payment systems affect the daily demand for liquidity of banks or financial institutions and may therefore affect the level of money market interest rates, the BSP o Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas as a lender of last resorts provide the following liquidity tools to PhilPAS participants. The third is overseer of the payment and settlement system. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, through the Payment System Oversight Department of the Supervision and Examination Sector, oversees of payment system in the country to ensure safeguards are in place to mitigate systemic risk arising from settlements, credit and liquidity risk of payment and settlement system participants. The fourth one is user of its own RTGS system. The BSP, through its different departments, also make use of the payment and settlement system for the settlement of its own transaction with stakeholders. RTGS, or the term real-time gross settlement, refers to the funds transfer system that allows for the instantaneous transfer of money and or securities. Once completed, real-time gross settlement payments are final and irrevocable. In most countries, the systems are managed and run by their central bank. The fifth one is initiate changes reform for the payment system. The BSP or Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas initiates the conduct of studies, research relating to payment system to ensure that it grows and matures in accordance with the global standards. Among the studies conducted which initiated reform to the retail payment system in the country is the National Retail Payment System. Thank you.
Net receipt in the capital account decreased to $8 million in quarter 2 2020 from $22 million in quarter 2 2019. The financial account registered net outflows of $152 million in the second quarter of 2020, a turnaround from $278 billion in net inflows in the same quarter 2019. In the financial account, direct investment account posted higher net inflows to reach $1.1 billion in quarter 2 2020 from $727 million year 2019. Portfolio investment posted net outflows of $731 million in quarter 2 2020, a reversal of the net inflows of $1.9 billion recorded year 2019. The other investment account recorded lower net outflows of $548 million from $2.4 billion in quarter 2 2020. Net gains from trading in financial derivatives were lower by 52.5% at $20 million in quarter 2 2020 from $42 million in the same period 2019.
Balance of payment quarter 3. Current account reverses to a surplus. The current account posted a surplus of $4.1 billion in third quarter of 2020, a reversal of the $356 million deficit recorded in quarter 3 2019. This resulted primarily for the decline in trade in goods deficit and the decrease in net receipts of secondary income, which more than compensated for the lower net receipts of primary income and trade in service. Under current account are trade in goods, which is trade in goods account deficit narrows. The trade in goods account registered a deficit of $7.8 billion in quarter 3 2020, 36.5% lower than $12.3 billion deficit at the same quarter a year ago. This resulted from the higher construction in imports of goods of 21% compared to the goods exports of 7.4%. Next is exports of goods. Export of goods continued to decrease. Exports of goods dropped to $13.1 billion in quarter 3 2020 from $14.1 billion in quarter 3 2019. Exports by major commodity group in quarter 3 2020. Export shipments to the country major trading partners declined, particularly Hong Kong, the United States, Indonesia, Japan, the Netherlands, and France, as the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic continued to weigh down on global trading activities. The decline in total exports of goods emanated mainly from lower export shipments of manufacturer, notably in electronic products, other electronics, machinery, and transport equipments, travel goods, and handbags, and other manufacturers. Exports of electronic product declined by 4.5% to $6 billion, owing to lower shipments largely of components and devices of semiconductors, electronic data processing, telecommunication, and communication or radar, and exports of fruits and vegetable, petroleum, other agro-based, forest, and coconut products also contributed to the overall decline in total exports of goods. Meanwhile, the expansion recorded in exports of mineral products and sugar and products helped ease the decrease in total exports of goods. Import of goods. Import of goods registers double-digit decline. Import of goods declined to $20.9 billion in quarter 3 2020 from $26.5 billion in the same quarter last year. Imports of by major commodity group. All major commodity groups recorded downturns following the slowdown in domestic economic activities as a result of the prevailing restriction in the country due to the COVID-19 pandemic, even as the government has started to gradually open the domestic economy in selected areas of the country. In particular, imports of capital goods decreased by 30.7% to $5.7 billion on account largely of the decrease in power generating and specialized machines, aircrafts, ships and boats, and land transport equipment excluding passenger cars and motorized cycle. Imports of minerals, fuels, and lubricant dropped by 42.3% to $2 billion due mainly to lower imports of coal, coke, and other related products. Imports of consumer goods also decreased by 20.9% to $4 billion, owing largely to decreased purchases of durable, particularly passenger cars and motorized cycle and miscellaneous manufacture. Imports of raw materials and intermediate goods dropped by 7.5% to $8.5 billion, stemming mainly from the decline in importation of manufactured goods, particularly metal products, iron, steel, textile, yarn fabrics, and made-up articles, paper and paper products, and other manufactured goods, and also the chemicals, mostly artificial resins and chemical compounds. Capital account net receipt decline. Net receipt in the capital account fell to $11 million in quarter 3 2020 from $20 million in quarter 3 2019. This resulted primarily from the lower net in receipts of capital transfers by the national government amounting to $14 million from $21 million in quarter 3 2019. Financial account posts higher net outflows. The financial account recorded net outflows of $646 million in quarter 3 2020, 65.1% higher than the $391 million net outflows registered in quarter 3 2019. This outcome stemmed mainly from the significant increase in net outflows of portfolio investment, which was tempered partly by the reversal of other investment to net inflows and the increase in net inflows of direct investment. These are under financial account versus direct investment. Net inflows of direct investment expanded by 34.6% to $1.1 billion in quarter 3 2020 from $825 million in the same period last year. This resulted as the increase in residents' net incurrence of liabilities of our foreign direct investment to $2 billion, that is more than offset the 9% expansion in resident net investment in financial assets abroad. In particular, non-residents' net investment in debt instruments issued by local affiliates grow by 35.9%. The net outflows of portfolio investments surged substantially by 509.6% to $2.9 billion in quarter 3 2020 from $474 million in the comparable period last year. This developed due to the rise in residents' portfolio investment abroad by 75.9% to $3.7 billion, along with the decline in non-residents' portfolio investment in the country or foreign portfolio investment by 52% to $771 million. Other investment reversed to net inflows. The other investment account registered net inflows of $1.1 billion, a reversal of the $803 million net outflows recorded in quarter 3 2019. This emanated from the surge in residents' net incurrence of liabilities by 221.8%, along with a drop in resident net investment of foreign financial assets by 39.5%. The net gains from trading in financial derivatives decreased. Net gains from trading in financial derivatives declined marginally by 1.6% to $59 million in quarter 3 2020 from $60 million in quarter 3 2019. Net unclassified items recorded outflows of $1.5 billion in quarter 3 2019 and $709 million net inflows registered in quarter 3 2020. Quarter 3 2020 balance of payment position records a higher surplus. The country's balance of payments position continued to register a surplus amounting to $2.8 billion in quarter 3 2020, more than 3 times the $778 million surplus recorded in the same year last year. The increase in BOP position was underpinned by the reversal to a surplus of the current account, attributed mainly to the narrowing of the trade in goods deficit as imports of goods recorded a higher decline than exports of goods. Merchandise trade continued to slow as risk and uncertainty surrounding the COVID-19 health crisis affected domestic and global economic activities. Meanwhile, the financial account posted higher net outflows due to the surge in net outflows of portfolio investment, even as the other investment account reversed to net inflows and net inflows of direct investment rose. Balance of payment quarter 4. Current account reverses to a surplus. The current account posted a surplus of $4.2 billion in fourth quarter of 2020, a reversal of the $342 million deficit recorded in quarter 4 2019. This was attributed mainly to the narrowing of the deficit in trade in goods accounts. Trade and service recorded higher net receipts, while net receipt of primary and secondary income declined during the quarter. Under the current account, trade in goods. The trade in goods account recorded a deficit of $8.4 billion in quarter 4 2020, 33.3% lower than $12.6 billion deficit in the same quarter last year. This developed on account of the contraction in imports of goods by 15% coupled with the modest rebound in exports recorded during the same period. Export of goods. Export of goods grew by 2.2% to $13.6 billion in fourth quarter of 2020 from $13.3 billion in quarter 4 2019. This reflected improved demand from the country's major trading partners, example China, Vietnam, and Taiwan. Quarter 4 2020 exports by major commodity group. On a by commodity basis, the main drivers of growth in total exports of goods during the quarter were manufacturer and mineral products. Export shipments of manufacturer grew by 4.2% on account largely of electronic products and machinery and transport equipment. Exports of electronic products increased by 8% to $6.6 billion, owing mainly to higher shipments of electronic data processing, control and instrumentation, and consumer electronics. Exports of mineral products expanded by 25.2% to reach $1.2 billion due to increased shipments of copper metal, following the uptrend in the international market price of copper. Moreover, exports of forest products and sugar products also supported the improvement of total exports of goods in quarter 4 2020. Meanwhile, exports of other commodity groups such as fruits and vegetables, petroleum and other agri-based, and coconut products posted lower export shipments. Import of goods. Import of goods registered double-digit decline. Import of goods totaled $22 billion in fourth quarter of 2020, 15% lower than the $25.9 billion registered in the same quarter in the previous year. Quarter 4 2020 imports by major commodity group. This developed as all major commodity imports groups declined, led by mineral fuel and lubricant and capital goods. The continuing implementation of community quarantines due to health risks posed by the virus resulted in weak domestic demand and consumption. In particular, the imports of mineral fuels and lubricant decreased by 42.2% to $1.9 billion, due mainly to the combined effects of the reduction in the importation of petroleum crude and other related products, and lower world market price of petroleum crude due in turn to sluggish demands worldwide. Imports of capital goods decreased by 17.3% to $6.6 billion on account largely of decreases in power generating and specialized machines, aircrafts, ships and boats, and land transport equipment excluding passengers, cars, and motorized cycle. And imports of consumer goods also decreased by 15.3% to $4.2 billion, resulting primarily from lower purchases of durables, particularly passenger cars and the motorized cycle, and miscellaneous durable manufacture. And the imports of raw materials and intermediate goods decreased by 77.3% to $8.4 billion, emanating mainly from lower importation of manufactured goods, particularly textile, yarn fabrics, and made-up articles and other manufactured raw materials and intermediate goods. Also the chemical, mostly medical, and pharmaceutical chemicals and artificial rains, and also the materials or accessories for the manufacture of electrical equipment. Trade and service post higher net receipts. Net receipt of trade and service increased by 21.2% to $3.9 billion in Q4 2020 from $3.2 billion in Q4 2019. The said increase was due to higher net receipt of other business services, particularly technical, trade-related, and other business services, along with lower net payments of financial services, charges for the use of intellectual property, and the travel services. Net receipt of primary income decreased. The primary income account registered net receipt of $1.3 billion in Q4 2020, 14.8% lower than the $1.5 billion net receipt in the same quarter in 2019. Net compensation inflows from resident overseas Filipino worker registered a marginal increase of 0.8% to reach $2.3 billion during the quarter. And the secondary income. Net receipt in the secondary income account contracted by 1.6% to reach $7.3 billion in the fourth quarter of 2020. This developed due mainly to the 65.2% drop in the net receipt of other current transfers coupled with a 31.3% decline in net current transfers to the national government. Meanwhile, the non-resident OF workers remittances posted a minimal improvement of 1% to reach $6.9 billion during the quarter. Capital account net receipts decline. Net receipt in the capital account fell to $20 million in Q4 2020 from $29 million in Q4 2019. This developed on account mainly of the lower net receipts of the capital transfer to the national government among to $21 million from $32 million in Q4 2019. Financial account posts higher net inflows. The financial account recorded net inflows of $6.5 billion in Q4 2020, markedly higher than the $1.6 billion net inflows registered in Q4 2019. This outcome was driven primarily by the reversal to net inflows of portfolio investment and the marked increase in net inflows of other investment, which more than offset the decline in net inflows of direct investment. Under the financial account is direct investment. Net inflows of direct investment decreased by 87% to $282 million in Q4 2020 from $2.2 billion in the same period in 2019. This developed as residents' net incurrence of liabilities of foreign direct investment declined by 47% to $1.5 billion, combined with a 90.1% increase in residents' net investment in financial assets abroad. Portfolio investment. Portfolio investment recorded net inflows of $2.5 billion in Q4 2020, a reversal from the $1.5 billion net outflows registered in the comparable period in 2019. This stemmed mainly from the several of the non-residents' portfolio investment in the country of foreign portfolio investment to net inflows of $3.6 billion, which more than compensated for the increase of resident portfolio investment abroad to $1 billion. Other investment. Net inflows of other investment expanded substantially by 305.8% to $3.6 billion in Q4 2020 from $864 million recorded in the same quarter in 2019. These outcomes stemmed mainly from the sharp increase in residents' net incurrence of liabilities to $4 billion, which was tempered partly by reversal of residents' net investment in the foreign financial asset to net outflows of $406 million. Financial derivatives. The net gains from trading in financial derivative increased. Net gains from trading in financial derivatives increased by 174.7% to $85 million in Q4 2020 from $31 million in comparable period in 2019. And net unclassified items recorded outflows of $959 million in Q3 2019 and $1.5 billion net inflows registered in Q3 2020. And the country balance of payment position recorded a surplus of $9.1 billion in Q4 2020, significantly higher than the $2.3 billion surplus posted in the same quarter in 2019. The marked increase in the balance of payment position was spurred by the reversal of the current account to the surplus combined with the hefty increase in net inflows in the financial account. The surplus in the current account emanated primarily from the decline in trading goods deficit as a result of the double-digit decrease in imports of goods coupled with the moderate increase in exports of goods during the quarter. The expansion in net inflows of the financial account was attributed to turnaround of portfolio investment to net inflows from net outflows as well as the significant increase in net inflows of the other investment. This more than mitigated the decline in net inflows of direct investment. The moderate growth in exports, strong interest for the national government bonds issuance by non-resident investors, and increased foreign borrowings of local banks reflected the general improvements in economic sentiments amid the global rollout of COVID-19 vaccines and the gradual reopening of international trade and commerce. This is Janice Naangayon, and that's all. Thank you.